From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Tuesday, March 11th, and here are today's headlines. A doctor at the University of Vermont Medical Center is undergoing a formidable task. Dr. David Cragg and a team are sifting through around 43,000 studies about opioids and addiction to create an easy-to-access research database. Yesterday on Vermont Edition, Cragg said he hopes the database can be used by local policymakers as they work to address the opioid crisis.
We have now scrubbed down almost all of the world's literature on this, and it's available in this database. And some of the concerns that were raised by legislators were, we're Vermont, we're different. But the literature is filled with places of similar size.
So far, Cragg and his team have inputted about 900 articles into the database. He said they hope to finish the project within 3 years. Best-selling Canadian mystery author Louise Penny will not promote her upcoming book in the United States. In a statement, Penny said she would not do events in the States due to President Donald Trump's trade war with Canada. The writer, who lives in the eastern townships of Quebec, is the author of the Armand Gamache series. It takes place in the fictional village of Three Pines, located just north of Vermont. The Green Mountain State is often mentioned in the series, a nod to the close connection between border communities. Penny will actually end her tour in the U.S., though, at least partially. The tour will conclude at the Haskell Free Library and Opera House, a building that straddles the border between Quebec and Vermont. The New Hampshire House voted last week to eliminate annual vehicle safety inspections. Supporters, including Representative Henry Gayeson, argued that inspections burden low-income Granite Staters, who must make often costly repairs to ensure that they can drive their cars.
The fact that this is possibly the most unpopular law that exists in the books of the state of New Hampshire and has the public outcrying for us to overturn it and move the liability back to the owner and away from the false sense of security of the inspector should speak volumes.
But opponents, like Democratic Representative Seth Miller, said while the inspection program needs reform, dropping it altogether is a bad idea.
We know it is broken. We know it needs to be reworked. We want to fix it. This bill is not the correct fix.
Miller warned the state could lose millions in federal funding by eliminating vehicle emissions testing. The bill now heads to the state Senate. And Bennington College announced the launch of its late decision program yesterday. In a press release, the Vermont institution outlined its new late decision college admissions application for prospective students. According to the college, it's designed for students who may take a gap year or apply to Bennington later in their senior year of high school. The round opened yesterday, and students can apply up until April 8th. The college's early action and regular decision rounds remain the same. Coming up, Anthony Cambridge was ready to start his new job as police chief in Richmond, but just hours before his tenure was set to begin, town officials nixed the deal. Vermont Public host Mary Engish spoke with VT Digger about the controversy, and we'll find out what she learned after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from VITA, supporting business growth and innovation in the Green Mountain State. From agriculture to manufacturing, energy to food production, find solutions that turn your business dreams into reality. Visit VEDA.org and see how VITA can help make it happen.
In January, the town of Richmond hired Anthony Cambridge to become its new police chief. But last Monday, just hours before Cambridge was supposed to begin his new job, Richmond's town manager announced the town was backing out of the plan, refusing to comment on the rationale, saying only that it was due to a personnel matter. Cambridge resigned from his position as chief of police in Heinsberg to take the Richmond job, but he faced scrutiny from officials on his way out for allegedly deleting security footage and shredding documents. Cambridge has denied any wrongdoing. Reporter Corey McDonald has been writing about the story for VT Digger and shared the latest with host Mary Engish.
First, can you quickly touch on the employment agreement that Anthony Cambridge had with Heinsberg and Richmond before he was going to formally become Richmond's new police chief?
Sure, yeah. So Cambridge had been the chief of police in Heinsberg since 2019. Since then, he's been an advocate for regionalization, right? The sharing of services between towns, and both of these towns started to do so around 2023. The two towns signed what is called an intermunicipal agreement, essentially sharing police and police chief services between the two towns. And so for about a year and a half now, Cambridge has effectively been the police chief of both towns. And police officers in Heinsberg and Richmond have essentially been policing both towns simultaneously.
And Corey, I gave a little bit of background to this story, but what allegedly occurred before Cambridge began what was supposed to be his new job in Richmond?
When he gives his resignation in early January, the feeling among town officials in Heinsberg is that not much is going to change. We're really just reversing the relationship here, and in effect, Cambridge will still be the police chief for Heinsberg. But things start to go amiss, and the relationship takes a turn around mid-January. Cambridge's last day with Heinsberg was originally set for February 17th, with a February 18th start date with Richmond. But on January 23rd, specifically, Cambridge abruptly gives his resignation, effective that day, and he tells the town that any more communication should go through his attorney. Why that turn occurred is not entirely clear, but just based on internal communications we've seen via a records request, we see the town manager and police officers bringing up a lot of different issues. There appear to be concerns around equipment and weapons that are being stored at his house. More specifically, there's a lot of messages showing police officers concerned that Cambridge was somehow privy to private conversations they had in the department, that he perhaps was using Amazon and Ring devices he installed within the department to listen in on conversations. Now, we don't know if that's true. What we do know, though, is that Cambridge, in the days leading up to his abrupt resignation on January 23rd, he was witness shredding documents, and he confirmed that he deleted 4 days' worth of security footage in the days leading up to January 23rd.
Why did Cambridge say he took those actions?
He said he shredded documents because they contained personal information about members of the community. And he said that he erased footage because it was, quote, previously mentioned that the cameras might be capturing images in parts of the building. And so he, quote, adjusted the retention time on the cameras to meet those concerns. He said that in a statement, and he hasn't really followed up on that yet.
Can you say again who the officials were behind the allegations?
Sure. So the figures primarily in the documents here are Heinsberg town manager Todd Odett, and then he's communicating with Brett Flansburgh. He's an officer previously with the Heinsberg Police Department. He's since moved on to the Virgins Police Department. And then Frank Bryan, who was an officer with the Heinsberg Police Department, is now the interim chief.
Corey, how was Cambridge viewed in the community as Heinsberg's police chief before all this went public?
I think he was very popular, and I think he still is in both communities. I think there has been a reaction in both Heinsberg and Richmond of general confusion about the situation, right? What exactly happened here. We're also seeing a lot of people in both towns say that, this is some kind of personal vendetta against Cambridge. Right. And, of course, he's called this a smear campaign against him. And so, I think that sentiment sort of exists in both communities.
As I mentioned at the top, Richmond revoked Cambridge's job offer this week after twice pushing back the start date. Can you explain how all of that played out?
Well, yeah. So he was initially supposed to start February 18th. That got pushed back a week. The following week, I think February 25th is the exact date, we asked again whether he'd be starting, and it was again postponed. And then, as you know, they rescinded their offer of employment. They haven't said much about why. They've cited their policy on personnel matters. So there's a lot we don't know about their reasoning behind rescinding that employment offer.
Well, the $1 million question: what's next? Both for the town of Richmond and Anthony Cambridge.
That's a good question. Todd Odett told me that, the sort of plan was that things would be sort of the same moving forward, right? Cambridge would still be the police chief in Heinsberg. That I think he told me something like, we're probably going to have an interim chief for the foreseeable future. I think the same goes for Richmond, although, Richmond in the past couple of years have the town's really had trouble finding and hiring police officers. They really haven't had a staff shortage in their department, so I don't really know what's in store for the Richmond Police Department at this point.
That's Vermont Public's Mary Angus speaking with VT Digger reporter Corey McDonald. Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Michaela Lefrak, Brittany Patterson, the New England News Collaborative, and Mary Engish. Our executive producer is Kevin Trevelin, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. Talk to you tomorrow.
Each morning, it's a new opportunity, a chance to start fresh. Up First from NPR makes each morning an opportunity to learn and to understand. Choose to join the world every morning with Up First, a podcast that hands you everything going on across the globe and down the street, all in 15 minutes or less. Start your day informed and anew with Up First by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts.